All right, the next problem type that we're going to do has us doing two square roots. So we have an equation that has two square roots. We have the square root of 7x plus 1 minus the square root of x minus 5. That's going to be equal to 6. Okay, so this is the first time we use the true step one, which is get the most complex radical by itself. So the 7x plus 1 is more complicated. So what we're going to do is get that by itself. We need to add the square root of x minus 5 to both sides. Add the square root of x minus 5 to both sides. On the left side, the square root of x minus 5, the negative cancels with the positive. We're left with the square root of 7x plus 1. That's going to be equal to 6 plus the square root of x minus 5. Okay, what we're going to do next now is square both sides of the equation. So we square the left side, we square the right side of the equation. On the left side, the square and the square root cancel each other. And on the right side, it's not fun. So we're going to have 7x plus 1. Well, what is 6 plus the square root of x minus 5 squared? It is 6 plus the square root of x minus 5 times 6 plus the square root of x minus 5. Okay? You have to write out the definition of an exponent. Squaring means you multiply it by itself twice. Once you write that out, you can now distribute. So we're going to have 6 times 6, and we're going to have 6 times the square root of 5. So the 7x plus 1, right? That's along for the ride. 6 times 6 is 36. And then we have 6 times the square root of, so it'll be plus 6 times the square root of x minus 5. And then the next one is the square root of 5 times the square root of x minus 5 times 6 is 6 times the square root of x minus 5. Okay. And then what we're going to have, we're just going to move this over to the left a tiny bit, because I think if we have a tiny bit more space, it'll work out. We have the square root of 5. I keep saying it wrong. It's the square root of x minus 5 times the square root of x minus 5 is the square root of x minus 5 squared. Okay. Now, over here, because the square root of x minus 5 squared, the square and the square root will cancel each other. But we have to combine like terms. Those terms in the middle do not cancel each other. 6, well, let's write it out first. It's going to be 7x plus 1 equals 36 plus 12 square root of x minus 5 plus, then we have x minus 5. That's it right there. So we still have a square root left over. Well, if there's a square root, we got to repeat steps 1 and 2, which means we have to get that square root by itself. We can combine some like terms, though. We can take 36 minus 5 if we want to. Let's do that first, and then we'll take care of everything else. So 36 minus 5 is 31, and then we have plus x plus 12 square roots of x minus 5. To get the square root of x, the square root of x minus 5 by itself, we need to subtract 31 and subtract x. And just be sure when you're doing the subtraction, line up the like terms so you don't make any mistakes there. 7x minus x is 6x. And then 1 minus 31 is negative 30. So it's going to be 6x minus 30 equals 12 times the square root of x minus 5. Now, the square root term is by itself. If you wanted to, you could divide both sides of the equation by 12. But at this point, we can square both sides. All right. And we'll show why we can square both sides. Okay. On the left, you have to write 6x minus 30 squared as 6x minus 30 times 6x minus 30. Now, on the right side, you can distribute an exponent through multiplication because it's 12 times the square root of x minus 5. You can distribute an exponent through multiplication. Why can you distribute an exponent through multiplication? Because an exponent is multiplication. It tells you how many times you're multiplying. You cannot, as we showed above, you cannot distribute an exponent through addition because an exponent is not addition, it's multiplication. All right, so anyway, what we end up with is 12 squared times the square root of x minus 5 squared. Okay, and here the square and the square root cancel each other. On the left side, we have a whole bunch of work. We have 6x times 6x is 36x squared. Then we have 6x times negative 30. That's going to be negative 180x. And then negative 30 times 6x is negative 180x. And then negative 30 times negative 30 is positive 900. That's going to be equal to 12 squared is 144 times all that's left is the x minus 5. Once again, this is a quadratic. So it's a quadratic. How do we know it's a quadratic? Because we have an x squared, right? The quadratic is because there's an x squared. So what do we have to do? We have to set it equal to 0, and we want to keep the x squared positive if possible. Well, we're going to move the stuff on the right side to the left side, but before we do that, we do need to do a little bit more cleanup. Let's combine like terms, and let's do the distribution on the right side. So this is going to become 36x squared minus 360x plus 900 equals 144x, because 144 times x is 144x. And then we do 144 times 5 is negative 720. Okay. So what are we going to do now? We want to keep the x squareds positive. So subtract the 144x and add the 720. Subtract 144x, add the 720. What are we going to get? We're going to get 36x squared minus, we're going to get 4 and then 0, and then that's 345. 504x plus 1620, that's going to be equal to 0. Okay. Now, I'm regretting. What am I regretting up here? If we divided both sides by 12, our factoring wouldn't be so bad. Okay. Look, we've got a calculator. All of these numbers are divisible by 9. And a cool trick to that is you can tell if it's divisible by 9 if when you add the digits, when adding the digits, they're divisible by 9. So 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 is divisible by 9. 504, if you add 5 plus 0 plus 4, you get 9. Well, 9 is divisible by 9. And 1 plus 6 plus 2, that's 8 plus 1 is 9. All of these are divisible by 9. So we can take out a 9. That's what we're saying. If you take out a 9, you're going to be left with 4x squared minus 504 divided by 9 is going to be 56. So it'll be 4x squared minus 56x plus, and then we do 1620 divided by 9 is going to be 180. That's going to be equal to 0. Well, it turns out that it was divisible by 36 because we can take out the 4. There's also a 4 we can take out. So let's take it out up here. So it's going to be 9 times 4. And then what's left over is x squared. And then 56 divided by 4 is going to be 14. So it'll be minus 14x plus, and then 180 divided by 4 is going to be 45 equals 0. So that's going to be 36 x squared minus 14x plus 45 equals 0. Now, what do we need? We need two numbers that multiply to 45 and add to negative 14. Ooh, adds to negative 14. And I don't know why I put x there. It just adds to negative 14. Okay. So we could be boring, but let's not. The two numbers it's going to be 9 and 5. Negative 9 times negative 5 is positive 45, and negative 9 minus 5 is negative 14. We can use the shortcut. Because the number in front of x squared is 1. So we're going to get 36 times x minus 9 times x minus 5 equals 0. We need to split these up. Either x minus 9 equals 0, add 9, x equals 9. That's one possibility. Or x minus 5 equals 0, add 5, add 5. That's going to be x equals 5. Now, this problem was super long, pretty tough. When you have two square roots, it's always going to be that way. So you might be thinking we're done with the problem. We are not done with the problem, because what do we have to do? You have to check your answers. So we have 9 and 5 that we have to check. I'm going to go very up to the very top, and we're going to get rid of the steps here to give us space to check our answer. So let's try x equals 9 first. If x is 9, we're going to get is the square root of 7 times 9 plus 1, that's times, minus the square root of 9 minus 5, is that equal to 6? Well, 9 times 7 is 63. Is 63 plus 1? Is the square root of 63 plus 1 minus the square root of 4, is that equal to 6? Is the square root of 64 minus 2 equal to 6? Is 8 minus 2 equal to 6? Is 6 equal to 6? Yes, it is. 9 ends up working. 9 works great. 9 is a solution. The other possibility, we can scroll down, was 5. So we have to go and check 5. Does x equals 5 work? Okay. Well, let's see. It's got to go back to the original. It's got to go back to the original. So that's going to be the square root of 7 times x, but x is 5, plus 1 minus the square root of, well, x is 5, 5 minus 5. Is that equal to 6? Okay, we got to give ourselves a little bit more space here. A little bit more space. There we go. So is the square root of 35 plus 1 minus the square root of 0 equal to 6? Is the square root of 36 minus the square root of, well, the square root of 0 is 0, right? So we'll just put minus 0, is that equal to 6? Is 6 minus 0 equal to 6? Is 6 equal to 6? Yes, we got one that they both worked. 5 and 9 both worked. So we're going to jump over to MyLabMath. We're going to enter both of those answers. Both of those answers ended up working. Okay. So we've got 5, 9. Both answered work. Let's check it out. There it is right there. We did it. We did it. So great job, us.